Hi, I'm Caroline, and my company is Wizen Free Kids, and today is my second Facebook Live. Yesterday I revealed that I've never done it before, so this is the second one, and actually I'm more nervous today than I was yesterday, believe it or not. So this is way out of my comfort zone, and this is what I teach kids, is to get out of your comfort zone and try new things. Hold on. Hello? Oh, hi. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm so glad you're back from your vacation. Well, maybe we can get together in a few months and you can show me your pictures. Awesome. All right, good. Talk to you soon. Bye. Remember those phones? I just had to show that for fun. But you remember these phones? You can only communicate one way. You have to actually dial somebody's phone number and someone had to call you, right? I still have one. But you can only communicate this one way. Now you can communicate in so many different ways, right? Um, and like I mentioned yesterday, I want to talk a little bit about phone use and screen time for kids. And I just recently attended a short conference from the Creative Council of Education Finland. And, these topics, kids and screen time, kids and phone use, and all of those things, is a worldwide topic. It's just not localized here in the US, but it's all over the world. And I learned some really cool things at this conference. And I'd like to share them with you actually. A couple of things is in the ideal world, kids are all just using their phones sparingly or on their screen sparingly. But now that they're home, they're probably on screen time a lot more. And because they have the time to do it, or they're chatting more on their phones with their friends. This isolation thing is just really a killer right now because they need, that interaction. So how do you monitor that? What is deemed good screen time versus maybe negative screen time. And while I attended this conference a few days ago, it actually shed some light on the two. What's the ideal screen time for a 13-year-old? What's the ideal screen time for a 2-year-old? And I want to point you to a YouTube video by Dimitri Christakis, and it was a TED Talk given, oh gosh, maybe 8 years ago. It's still relevant today, and it talks about how the brain develops and perhaps exposing younger kids to screen time earlier and earlier may not be the best thing for brain development. So I will refer you to that. His name is Dimitri Christakis, and it was a TED Talk from about 8 years ago on YouTube. So one of the things I learned about from this conference is the difference between passive and creative use of screen time. So passive would be browsing social media sites, watching YouTube videos, browsing the internet, even Netflix, on-demand movies and entertainment, and playing games, and lately a lot of TikTok. But the passive use of screen time, the brain isn't really working. It's being kind of entertained. Now, the creative side of using screen time is learning a new skill, maybe learning about coding, maybe creating a game, animation, maybe even some digital photography, editing videos, putting up a YouTube video. There's a lot of kids on YouTube who are doing some amazing things like toy reviews or reviews of products or games and things like that. There's even some kids in India that I just subscribed to on YouTube. They're talking about the world economy, and this boy is maybe 13 or 14, but he knows this stuff, and he even gives predictions. And his little sister, who's, a few years younger than him, she talks about health. She's really into Ayurvedic medicine and the lifestyle. And they have become experts on YouTube, and they've got quite a few people following them. And so that type of energy spent on screen time is really beneficial to them because they're able to share their knowledge and use their communication effectively, and maybe even, have some income coming from it, an income stream, even at their young age. So there's passive and creative. So when you're, I don't want to say monitoring, or it's not about distrust in your children when they're watching things online, or you see them constantly on their phone and things like that. But as a parent, you are responsible for knowing what's going on, in your house, and what's going on in their minds too. You are the CEO of your home corporation, and as such, it's your responsibility to gather data to make sure your home is functioning properly. So, it's our responsibility to do that and to make sure that the content is of quality. Now, kids right now, they are going to be on their phones quite a bit. They need to connect with their friends, and they should be. Isolation is tough. It sucks. It really does. You're missing out on so many, personal contacts. Although I have noticed that teens can talk to each other and they're sitting right next to each other and they're texting each other. They're actually not talking using their voices or looking at each other in the eye, but they're actually on their phones, and they could be in the same room. So I'm not sure what that's about. But we want to promote as much as you can in your home the practice of talking to each other face to face. Look them in the eye and have them communicate with you in that way, not be behind an instrument to be able to talk to one another. I know that could be kind of hard to do because they're so used to doing that, and it's breaking old habits. These kids have been operating in a certain way for so long, and now their whole world has been disrupted, and now they're trying to figure out how to work in this new way, right? We're kind of in a new world. We're in a sabbatical, so to speak, about how we used to conduct our lives, right? We're learning. We're all students of this new situation. So like I mentioned yesterday, we're going to see things that we normally don't see, that they could be, that our kids are doing or saying or feeling, right? So it's important to continually learn, be a lifelong learner during this time. Because after this is over, I hope that we've all learned something, that we've all become better people. So some things about that has been, the CDC has recommended about, the stressfulness of this particular time, and, maybe some things to look out for. So if there's any behavior changes in your child, Um, and not all children and teens respond exactly the same way under stress or anything else for that matter. But if they have excessive crying or irritation, My apologies. My coworkers sometimes will bark. I am home. But if your children are, excessive crying or whining, or irritated constantly for younger children, I'm so sorry. Um, or they're returning to behaviors that they've outgrown. For example, there could be some, if they're very, very young, toileting accidents or even bedwetting at this time, or they have excessive worry or sadness. Maybe their food choices aren't so healthy, or their sleeping habits aren't quite the same, or they're not getting enough sleep because teens will be on their phones all night long or whatever devices to play games. And this is a time where we need to take care of ourselves. And so this might be a conversation with your teen if this is happening. So if they're only getting a few hours of sleep at night because they've been gaming, I would say have a conversation about this. How is this helpful? They're going to be running themselves down, and then the next day they're going to be tired, and then they won't be able to do their schoolwork, or they could end up being in a bad mood and so forth. So watch that time. There's a reason why we sleep at night, is to take care of our bodies, regenerate ourselves, and put our minds at rest in the evenings. It's really important. And when that time isn't properly used for that particular activity, you're going to have daytime problems. Poor school performance, or you have maybe even avoiding doing the schoolwork during the day, or procrastinating, because I'd rather be doing something else like gaming. If they're having difficulty with attention span and concentration, avoidance of activities enjoyed in the past, unexplained headaches or body pain, and maybe they're engaging in really unhealthful practices. There seems to be a notice or an uptick in online bullying, and not having helpful conversations during this time. And that's very sad, or even sexting. So those are the things that you kind of want to keep your eye on. So how are some ways that you can support your child if this is happening? So if you have someone that you can call, like a therapist, or if you think it's serious enough, I definitely would reach out. But if you think it's mild and it's just a case of educating the child to let them know that there is a better way, that those are options as well. But ways to support them would probably be, just to take the time to talk with them about the whole situation. This is not easy for anyone. We're in uncharted territory. Everyone is doing things differently. Everyone is asked to step outside of their comfort zones a little bit. And everyone is being asked to try a little bit harder, especially at home, right? I think I mentioned yesterday, there's no place to go. So how can we all get along at home, right? It's just important to have those conversations, and openly and honestly. If they ask questions about, the pandemic, share with them information that they can digest, not overly scientific, and not doom and gloom. But this is the situation right now. Yeah, there are people that are dying. There are people that are getting sick. The majority of them are getting better. And I think yesterday's update was, although the numbers are rising a bit, we're still under the projection, which is really good. So that's promising. However, the stay in place mandate is still set for May 1st, and that is cautionary, and it's a good idea. So we have another, few weeks ahead of us before we know for sure if it's going to be extended, or we can go back to maybe a semi-normal lifestyle by May 1st. But in any case, now is the perfect time to get ready. You're getting ready to get ready for your life after this is all over. So some kids may have gotten used to being at home and working at home and having the comforts of a home and being with you. And they may miss or maybe even reject wanting to go back to school. So what then, right? What would you do then? So, these are all good conversations to have with your child. Some kids that just need to go back. They want to see their friends and they hate being at home. So you have two things. There could be some kids that it doesn't matter where they're at. They're fine. They're happy, right? Couple other things. Reassure your child or teen that they're safe. And let them know it's okay if they feel upset, right? You can be upset too. And share with them how you deal with your own stress so that they can learn how to cope from you. They are watching you. Model the behavior that you want to see in your child. Watch what you do, because your actions, although they can hear what you're saying, your actions are drowning out your words. So they kind of hear your words, they're not listening intently, but they see your actions. So if you're constantly stressed out about this or start the day in a negative manner, then you're setting the tone. So you really, really have to watch how you're responding every day, because they're looking to you for cues. When they see you, they're thinking that's how you should act, or that's normal behavior. So it's important to check your attitude, check what you say, and check what you do, because they're watching and they will model or take on your feelings and your behaviors because you're setting the tone. Another thing is to limit your family's viewing, of the news coverages, because there are some people that are completely glued to their TVs because they want to know second by second what's going on. It's not the best thing to do. It causes unwanted feelings like fear, anxiousness, worry, hopelessness, helplessness, even a bit of victimhood. So you need to really monitor, and it's okay if you don't watch the news, because if you really needed to know, you'll find out. And if you just need to check your phone, because I get updates, just read the title of it and you kind of get an idea. Okay, this is what's going on. But refrain from swimming in it. I guess that's what I want to say. You can dip your toes in it and check it out, but don't swim in it every day. Children, they don't understand everything that's being said on the TV or on the media, and they may misinterpret what they hear, and then they can be even more frightened about things that they don't understand, right? They're getting information that's largely fear-based. I hate to say that, but it is true. So, so those are some of the things that I would say to look out for in screen time. And there's always a good, better, and best screen time activities. Of course, we have the world at our fingertips, and you can learn so much being online. You can actually visit museums online. You can learn about so many different things. There are so many podcasts, you've done it yourself. So, if you're having trouble at home with your kids looking for things that isn't considered a betterment to them, maybe course correct and persuade them to watch something together as a family that is not only entertaining, but educational. Something that they could get something out of. And especially if it links to one of their lessons that they're having to do at home, their schoolwork. And again, I just want to say monitoring them is not distrusting them at all. It's data. And you're the CEO of your family, and it's up to you to run your household with good data, things that you know what's going on. And because you're monitoring the content, the quality of the content, because just remember, things cannot be unseen. So if they happen to come across information that isn't appropriate, it's really difficult to unsee that. And that goes in their memories, right? So we not only want to protect their bodies from getting ill right now by, staying at home, but largely we want to protect their minds and their brains and their hearts. That's also important. Like I said before, if you have any questions, if you want to talk about, specific things that you might be worried about with your child, like I said, I have 27 life skill lessons that range from everything from integrity to self-responsibility, confidence issues, those kind of things. So I have a message from our sponsor. Who's our sponsor? So next week, Tuesday, I'm starting a series of workshops, 4 of them, and there are 2 workshops per week. So over a 2-week period, there's 4 workshops. And the first one's starting on the 14th, which is next Tuesday. And this one's on overcoming fear. How do you handle fear? What if your child is always fearful, right? This is a perfect lesson for that. On 4/16, which is Thursday, we're going to be talking about choosing self-talk, how what you say to yourself is way more important than what anyone else says to you. And I saw this quote about self-talk, and it goes something like this. I heard what I said to myself, and I think I owe myself an apology. So we're going to talk about how self-talk, especially if it's on a loop, And if it's negative, how that can just annihilate self-confidence, self-worth, and a lot of other concepts about themselves. So choosing positive self-talk and practicing it authentically. This is what's important, is authentic self-talk. On 4/21, the following Tuesday, we're going to talk about self-responsibility, how they can be the boss of themselves, how they can lead themselves. They don't have to wait until a parent tells them what to do. They can choose to do it and bring harmony to the home, right? That they understand how powerful their actions are or inaction. This particular one is pretty powerful. Actually, they all are. I have to say, this curriculum is phenomenal. The last one on 4/23 is Thursday, and it's on the power of possibility. So having them see that we are not our circumstances. That does not define us, ever. We are not our circumstances. We may be experiencing a particular circumstance, but it's up to us to choose how we want to experience it. It's just an event. It's neither good or bad, right? They are, they're going to understand that they have a choice about how they experience things and to look for possibilities in anything that comes their way. And that just because something looks a certain way doesn't mean that it's dreadful or negative, that there's possibility. And I want to say that to this situation too that we're experiencing. Now, like I mentioned, I probably mentioned yesterday, is that we can look at this thing very negatively. How terrible, and mourn over our life how it used to be. But it has given us an opportunity to stand still for a moment and reassess our lives, how we want to go forward after this. What can we learn? Are we investing in ourselves again, right? Can we be more confident when this is over? Are we going to be less fearful because we came out of it okay? Are we going to look at things differently? Is our perspective going to change? All of these things, this is an amazing opportunity to grow and develop that growth mindset. A fixed mindset belongs to someone who doesn't believe that there's opportunity, who can't look at the possibility, or someone, well, it's always been that way, so it's always going to be that way here on out. So they're not looking beyond themselves. And someone with a growth mindset likes feedback, wants to improve. They're willing to learn. They love learning. They're not afraid of trying. And their confidence builds because of action on their part. And when your confidence is up, naturally your esteem goes up. You think of yourself as a person that can do something rather than an immediate, I can't. How can I? So my program talks about all of those things. And a lot of these things that I'm teaching the children, a lot of adults haven't even learned. So for my Facebook Lives that I said that I would be doing daily in the 3 o'clock-ish hour, I'm going to be talking to you, the parents, because I think it's important before you seek help for your child in an educational way, which I do. You kind of need to have your mindset on the right path as well. And that's why I work with parents and grandparents, sometimes at the same time. Because how can you support your child with this enlightened way of looking at life if you're still running old patterns, right? So if you're still running old patterns and you're still thinking negatively or in ways that inhibit growth in yourself, then how can you help your child? So when a child is enrolled in my sessions, they're going to get a workbook on the topic. They're going to have some reminder sheets sent home to them so that you can have this conversation you can continue the conversation well after the class is over. And I would highly suggest putting it in a binder because once the workshops is over, you have access to remembering what the story was about and have this conversation down the road if you need a refresher. And these topics are really important because I've found that teens that are failing to launch or failing to have goals or failing to see possibility is largely due because they haven't been exposed to a lot of options. So I want to talk a little bit about this before I close. We can look at the world through pinholes, right? And your children are looking through a set of pinholes at the world. They're not looking at the entire thing. They're looking through their own individual pinholes that they've either created for themselves or have been introduced to them at school or you or some other way, right? And so what I find is that when the older teens have only been viewing the world through one pinhole and they haven't widened it, so they don't even know the options that are out there for them. And so if they're failing to launch and they have no ambition and they're not excited about anything and they're just like, whatever, I don't know. You ask them what they want to accomplish in their life. I don't know. And that's a valid answer, actually. I don't know. But hopefully it doesn't last too long. And maybe they just need to be exposed to more options. Maybe they need to be engaged in activities that either helps them decide whether they want to maybe even do that kind of line of work or pursue a career in something like that, or pursue educational avenues to further their passion. And I have something to say about passion too. Passion, if they don't have passion, passion needs to be cultivated. And it starts with exposure to things. And if they're not exposed to a lot of different options, like travel will do that. Travel is amazing. And right now we can't do that, but it doesn't mean that you can't travel online. We do that often. Or we take a look at how other people live and what they do for a living. And that's why self-education is really important to develop interests beyond yourself, right? Beyond what's going on, on social media or whatever. There's a whole world out there. So for the older kids that I work with, we take a look at where they're pointing their face, where their attention is on. And if the only thing that they're interested in is like one thing, then they need to broaden their scope a little bit. And I would say same for the younger ones. Some of the younger ones have no, they can't even think of a goal that they want to accomplish and things like that. And it could be due to the lack of exposure to different things. Sometimes we keep our kids so busy with stuff that we think are beneficial to them that sometimes they need time for reflection and, for deeper thinking. And I'm a big proponent of that. It's okay for kids to be bored. Why? It allows them to use their imagination. And there's nothing more important than imagination and critical thinking, because this is how they're going to solve their own problems later on in their life. Using their imagination and visualization. I have a whole section about, it's called Dream Power. And this whole section talks about creating a vision, how to achieve goals, how to even plan for a goal, right? And there's different types of goals. And understanding the law of attraction. Well, the law of attraction is only one out of many, many different universal laws. So we're going to talk about the law of attraction in its simplest form for children, and being on the right frequency. And you're going, what? Yes, parents, if you want to talk about this, we can. You may want something, but if your vibration is on a lower frequency, it's going to be really hard to get what you want. And so you want to be a vibrational match for what you want. And the law of attraction goes hand in hand with vibrations. I touch on this with kids only to the point where they kind of have an idea about how this works. And how I introduce it is whatever you put out, you're going to bring in. And the story is about having the right attitude. So if you go around being miserable and making other people feeling miserable, then guess what? You're going to be miserable. So it's what you put out. And so when I use that story, I see some eyes going, whoa, I've been awful. No wonder I'm miserable. So it's really eye-opening for them. Using the power of visualization or visioneering, really important for them to use their imagination. Now, when you're on your phone a lot, you have a device putting things in your visuals so that you don't even have to use your imagination. So that's something to think about. And some kids, when you say, well, use your imagination, they go, oh, why is that? Don't they have any? They haven't exercised that muscle, and it is a muscle, by the way. Using affirmations is really important. What you say to yourself, again. And the last one in that section is gratitude, how having an attitude of gratitude makes a world of difference, especially when things get tough. Waking up with a grateful heart and knowing what that feels like. to be grateful is really important. And, sometimes it's a hard lesson for kids to learn how to be grateful. They don't even understand it. Thankful, yeah, you're thankful for things, but gratitude is a whole nother level of thankfulness. And sometimes it's tough for kids to grasp that. I have a good lesson for that. And so this is what I teach. I am just so excited to be able to do this work. And I think it's needed now more than ever. More than ever. So I appreciate you watching. And this is my second one. And I tell you, it does not get any better. And maybe by the third one or fourth one, it might be better. So thank you for bearing with me. And I hope you learned something. And, reach out to me. Oh, I forgot to mention. So I have a special running for the 4 workshops, and there is a code that you can use to get 10% off of the package price. And the code is April showers. And boy, did we have some showers last night. So that's the code for 10% off. So it's normally $320 for the 4 sessions, and each session is an hour and 15 minutes and sometimes longer. It depends. And so with 10% off, it goes down to $288. And you think, wow, $208. Okay, if it's a problem but you want this for your child, would you please contact me? And we'll work something out, because I would rather see kids get the tools that they need to enjoy their life now, and then have tools that they can rely on later on as well. Because once you learn these things, it only gets better. And who doesn't want a happier existence? I don't know anybody who doesn't want a happier existence. So, or more harmony in your home. So if you're, a lot of people are losing their jobs, or, hours are cut back and things like that. I understand, my husband's work, we don't know how long he's going to be able to do what he does. And luckily, knock on wood, it's okay right now. But there could be a day where it's like, I wouldn't have enough work. It depends on commercial businesses, right? So talk to me if you want this for your child. But things are a little tight right now. Yeah, I get it. I get it. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't, take me up on this opportunity to teach your child some valuable skills now and later. Okay? Thank you for watching. And I'll have another topic tomorrow. I think I'm going to talk about attitude, and maybe, or I might surprise you. I'm not sure. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. Well, I can't say that I enjoyed being on Facebook Live, but I appreciate if you're watching, and I have no way of seeing if there's even anybody here. And to be honest and truthful, yes, I'm doing it for you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm doing it for you, but I'm also doing it for myself, because I am a lifelong learner, and I'm going to continue growing. And this is one of the things that I've chosen to work on for my personal development as well. Okay, great. Talk to you soon, or tomorrow at some point, probably in the 3 o'clock hour. All right, thanks a lot. Hope you learned something. Bye.